award-winning Tennessee WildCast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee WildCast. I'm Jason, and I'm glad y'all are tuning in with us today. I've got a great show lined up. I'm so excited to have Mr. Hickok45. If you follow him on YouTube, you know who he is, and it's going to be a fun show. Talking about shooting today, Don.
Exactly. If you've ever Googled, or not Googled, but searched for anything on YouTube about guns, no doubt you've met Hickok45. You know what I call somebody with 6.45 subscribers to their channel?
What's that?
Sir.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm excited. This has been a long time coming. I reached out to Hickok, and he said, yeah, we'll make that happen.
Yeah, so, that's right.
I'm excited to have him on the show. If you're listening or watching, stay with us because it's going to be a fun one.
Exactly.
Don, you want to highlight a radio station?
Yeah, 93.9 The Duck in Tullahoma. One of our radio stations that plays us on Saturdays. We appreciate them so much, and along with all our other radio partners out there too.
Yeah, so we appreciate them so much. If you follow us, we're out there on most podcasting platforms. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We're out there all over the place. So keep following us, keep coming back and checking us out. And let's get started. I'm excited. We're going to run out of time if we don't get started now. But Mr. Hickok45 is with us today. Thanks for coming.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, I've been watching your stuff for a while now on YouTube. I started shopping for a handgun one day and searched in, started looking, and you popped up, and I watched almost every video, I think, on the handguns that you were demoing that day. But, since that time, it's a great resource for folks to go to and check out. But educate us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about yourself, your background. I know you're an educator. You're an educator on YouTube for sure. And
I don't know about that. We have a lot of fun. Hopefully there's a little bit of education involved. I grew up in Kentucky and was able to start shooting pretty early on, off and on. And father had a 50-acre farm, and we'd get out and shoot. And
awesome.
It was really, really nice. I got the bug at that time. And then, of course, you get involved in school and high school and sports and everything, and I didn't have the opportunities as much a little bit later. We moved back to a more congested area for a while. But when I got out of college, that's when it really hit. I'm free now, and I've got a little money, and I got into the hobby in a bigger way because I had the bug. I've always had the bug to shoot, and so I picked up a 357 Magnum, a 45 Colt. It was a Ruger Blackhawk, and I just loved it. And of course, I always with the 22 long rifle, but I always had a yen for a big bore.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched those Westerns growing up, and Roy Rogers and John Wayne and everybody. They had a 45, and that's what I wanted, and I got one and started shooting.
Awesome. Yeah, so right out of college is kind of when the bug hit and the love happened.
Yeah, I couldn't afford to shoot as much. I could barely, afford the gun. In fact, I bought the Blackhawk. That was my last semester or quarter of college, a little money I had, kind of a windfall from something, and I didn't even know, I went into a gun shop in Clarksville, Tennessee. I said, I'd like to look at Colt 45s. And of course, typical gun shop owner sometimes at the time, he was really a little bit impatient with me. Because I didn't know. I thought, like a Colt 45's a Colt 45. Like John Wayne carried? Well, we don't have one of those. We got this Ruger. I was like, okay, what's that? I didn't, I was, man, when I think back how green I was. But, I remember buying cartridges at that shop, though, for that firearm in singles. At that time, you could buy like 2 cartridges. They'd have a box that was open. And it was, I don't know what it was, 3 cents a round or nickel a round or something.
Yeah.
And I would buy like 10 or 20 rounds as I could afford it because I wasn't quite even out of school yet when I got that.
Yeah. So. And then one for your pocket, right?
Yeah, one for my pocket, my Barney bullet. That's right.
Talking about being green, I think that's the way I felt when I first started shopping until I watched some of your stuff, and start learning about the different calibers and different rounds and the things that, there's a lot of information out there to learn.
There is. It's like any endeavor with music or whatever it is, musician. You look for instruments or computers back in the day. Anytime you're learning something new, I try to keep that in mind. Talk to people who are a novice. They don't know anything maybe.
Right.
And we try to do some basics videos too. And I try not to talk down to anybody, even though I'm 6'8". But in the video, I do probably forget sometimes when I just mention something, because I'll see it in a comment. Someone will say, "Well, that's all well and good, but what caliber is that gun?" It's and maybe it's a Glock 17 or something. It just comes in. It is a 9mm. All Glock 70s are 9mm.
Yeah.
You don't think about it.
Right.
People don't know. Or you may even hold up the cartridge and show them up close. There's something about it, and there's something obvious you just didn't mention.
I'll have to say though that you do a great job of covering the gamut of education on your videos. You do a great job.
Try to.
So the novice, like you said, that is just kind of tuning in for the first time, and not knowing much. They're going to get something out of it, as well as the experts too. So
I hope so. I kind of assume no knowledge when we're doing, especially basics videos on something, but really educational video. If we're reviewing a firearm, like a new SIG that comes out or something, maybe not as much. But I try to keep that in mind. I taught 7th grade for a long time. And you have to talk really slow and get their attention, sometimes. So that helps, I think. And plus, I'm probably middle age of a 7th grader, maybe a 5th grader myself. But it's a lot of fun. John and I have a great time, doing it. And think about it, it's a dream come true in a lot of ways. You have a hobby your whole life, and then maybe say it's golf, for example. You're the guy or the gal that's always trying to get out to play that golf course on the weekend, and never enough time to play golf, and everything. And then someone taps them on the shoulder when they're like 60 years old or so and says, "Hey, you really like golf, don't you? Guess what we're going to do? We're going to buy you a golf course and give you all the range time you want and just let you play golf for a living now," or something.
We might roll a little film on it, but
that's kind of what happens.
Share your experience. You
get to shoot for a living.
Yeah. Oh man, that's great.
Yeah. So, kind of jump back a little bit. 2007. You said this kind of when this took off. You tell us how that took. I mean, what was
it's when we started.
Yeah. How did all that really take off, and what was the gun that started it up?
Well, I'll try to be brief as possible. John was in college at the time, and I had done, as I was teaching the novel Shane, I had done some things at my range there for my students. I showed them what a .45 Colt really looked like and how it worked and how it sounded and all that. And I brought that in, of course, digitally, on video to them. I sent a copy to John. He said, "Dad, you should do something like this for YouTube. There's not much on YouTube at all." That was early days,
Yeah.
So we messed around and did something with Glocks. He's showing, this is a Glock 19. Here's how it comes apart. Or a couple of things like that. And it just for fun. There was so different from the way people get into YouTube now or doing things. They're saying, wow, there's an option as a career or to have some additional income, And I'd probably be doing the same thing if I was starting today and thinking about it. But at that time, I didn't know there was anything like that there was any money to be made, like from ads or anything. We just thought it'd be fun and cool to put some things on YouTube and show some other people, and to sound altruistic. I've been messing with firearms my whole life, and give a little back, maybe help some other people, too. As a part of it, I know a little bit about it, and I can share what I do know. And so that's really how it got going, and it wasn't with any particular one gun that got it started, other than the Glock or those Western guns for the Shane video. And then we were just surprised that anybody wanted to watch them, really. And they get some views, and wow, 1,000 people watch this. We were amazed. And then the comments indicated people kind of liked it, even though we didn't know how to edit video. I think in the first couple of videos, it shows me reaching around, turning the camera on. Even you didn't know how to edit.
Yeah.
Turns out that was a good thing, because we still don't.
Yeah. Well, it shows the honesty and the transparency, and
can't hide much.
Yeah, just you out there and doing what you love.
Say something stupid, it's in there. And the thing about that is, if you misspeak at all, fortunately, in all the videos, there's not there's not too many cases of that where it's like horrible. Why did I do that? If it's too bad, you can just not post it, of course, or take it down. But if you said something that was a little off or whatever, a video I did in 2011 or 10 or 9, today somebody's looking at it right now as we speak, and they're probably typing a comment. Hickok, that didn't make sense. So you live with it forever.
Yeah, I'm sure the comments are crazy to keep up with.
Oh man,
you can't really. Not on. We got, I guess, 2,500 or 3,000 videos, whatever it is now. So.
Wow. Well, one thing I was kind of surprised about is that you're the only range I know that allows pot smoking that I've seen.
That's right. It's just like being in Las Vegas, isn't it?
I love that comment when he says that. We're going to do a little pot smoking.
Let's do a little pot smoking.
So those folks that are listening and watching, explain what pot smoking is.
Well, you just decided one day that the clay pots were a nice target.
Heck yeah, they blow all the pieces.
It's not really smoke, I guess, technically. It was dust.
Yeah.
But smoke sounds better.
Yeah.
And they make nice targets. Yeah. We kind of pioneered some of those targets from early on. I've always liked reactionary targets. That's why I got shooting steel early on and enjoyed that. And more so than paper. And so the 2 liters, I'm not sure anybody shot 2 liters before we started doing that. And then, of course, the pots. I don't know if anybody else does that or not. But just things that get a reaction. That's the fun part of shooting, if you can do that. I hear from a lot of people that wish they could take a tin can to their shooting range, but most ranges you can't do that for obvious reasons.
It's kind of like it takes you back to that 11-year-old.
Yeah,
we were talking earlier about starting off as a kid and taking that 22 out and having a pocket full of ammo and just tin cans, whatever that you could shoot.
Don't you wish every 10 or 11-year-old could do that?
Oh today? Man, I know it.
Well, let's say most. Maybe not everyone.
Let's talk about shooting ranges for a minute. I mean, I love shooting steel plates. That's fun. I mean, you hear the reaction of the target. You hit it. And all that. We talked about the pots. What about the bowling pins? Those are fun.
Oh yeah.
That's another good target. Yeah, exactly. And I've been shooting those for a long time. I actually competed in a couple or 3 bowling pin matches back 80s when those were popular. They're still doing them somewhere probably. Somewhere it was at Michigan where I know Masa Yube and others started. Maybe Bill Wilson might have been in on that, but that was a big deal. I probably saw a video on that made me think more about it and then got into it a little bit. You get like a local indoor range would do those occasionally because it's not that hard to set up some tables and bowling pins. And every Tuesday night, kind of like a bowling league, of all things, but a better bowling league.
Those last very long. You get a couple of rounds out of those?
Yeah, they're pretty durable.
Yeah.
Depends on what you hit them with. If you shoot them with a lot of 45-70, they won't last as long. But they're really tough. Oh man, I mean, obviously, we all know bowling pins are tough.
They take a beating.
What gets them first usually is the weather. If you leave them out there and you shoot them a few times, then they get wet, and then they obviously begin
moisture
to rot
gets inside. And,
Well, let's give some folks some tips on a range. I mean, we see you shooting and you got all kinds of stuff to shoot at, targets and things. But what's some tips you'd give folks on setting up a range at home?
Well, if they got a home and a place on their own property, whatever you want that's safe. And I always recommend if you're going to set up steel, and that's really popular now. If a person has property where they can do that, they generally want to do that. So we got a video on that, shooting steel safely, I think it's called. But
I think I
you
saw
want
that.
a flat, ideally flat steel, no edges at all. Ideally AR-500, good hard steel. And then no edges, and hanging is good. Hanging is really good for the give, and the splatter goes down and out and around. Those are the most important thing. And I learned that not from watching videos. I learned that from experience. I had a guy make me some plates and a little stand. I put them on a timber as my first range go around. Probably have pictures of that somewhere. And it was fine. You knock them off, go set them up. But you got to have a pedestal of some sort. They won't sit, of course. And lead would go down into the bottom, if you hit close to it, especially the bottom lip, and it would sometimes come back a little bit, So I went back to the drawing board and had a guy design me some that were kind of a or a lollipop design. You had the same 8-inch circle, but on a stand about that long, just about an inch or two wide. Just to get it up away from the stand down there.
Sure. Yeah, about
always
6 inches
thinking
or
when
so,
you're genius, right? And that did work better, but you still hit down there low, and you still get some back.
Yeah.
So then I had a friend of mine who was a welder to make me that plate rack where they're just swinging, and that just eliminates all of that almost.
I know some of the cowboy shooting and target shooting at ranges, those are tilted, right? Kind of got a slant to them.
Kind of tilted down.
Shoots it down.
They may not be slinging or swinging. They're not necessarily loose, but they're angled, backwards just a bit, maybe.
The top.
And they shoot that stuff close. You ever been to a cowboy match?
I've seen a couple, yeah.
I mean, they shoot a cow, a big piece of steel out here that wall sometimes. I think in USPSA, the rule used to be at least, 11 yards, that you need to have your closest steel 11 yards away.
Gotcha.
Cowboy action shooting, I think they a little closer sometimes. But it's big, flat, and, it's lead bullets. And,
Yeah.
My wife and I got to go do that for a weekend in Fredericksburg, Texas, back quite a few years ago now. But man, we had a ball. It was so much fun.
It is fun. That's what got me into it. Well, the other thing on the range, I probably didn't answer your question thoroughly. I think if you have to go somewhere to shoot, maybe you got an uncle or a relative that has some land you can shoot on. Probably can't do this at a formal shooting range, but you can get a couple of those plates, or 3 or 4 of them, just with a hole in them, like I have, and they're all over the web. You can find that stuff in AR-500 steel, and get you some of the plant hangers like I have, shepherd's hooks. And you can throw those in the trunk, really, and go stick them in the ground and have a big blast shooting steel. Pretty easy to set up. And there's some other companies now. The targets there's just a wide array of targets available like that are designed to be carried in your truck or your trunk and set up to shoot at.
And then all the animals, different shapes and sizes.
Or just get some bowling pins or whatever.
Yeah. Well, we've talked a little bit about. Well, we didn't really touch on safety. Well, a little bit of safety on the angle of the target, but ear protection, eye protection, obviously.
Yeah, you always want that. Always want that.
Yeah. So save the ears and save the eyes and take the whole family out there. Have fun with it.
And good for you on the safety part too, because in all the videos I've watched of yours, that safety is always right up there at the top.
Really, really focus on that. So important. And there's a couple of places where I might have goofed a little bit. On like maybe my finger was on a tree. It's just out of 3,000 videos, but it's really rare. I think really rare. And the other thing some people don't realize. When you're doing a video, like if say I'm shooting in this direction, there's the range, and normally you don't turn around with the firearm.
Right.
If you're at a range, even your own, there's no reason to be pointing in any direction.
Right.
It's the target's
Exactly.
Exactly.
Right.
But the camera's back here, and so I'm talking to the camera and I want to show. So I some of that is just part of the show, to show the gun, but or holding it and pointing it up that way, which you wouldn't normally do. I mean, people have a heart attack and be diving if you're starting to point your gun all around,
Right.
at a range. But we try to exercise or demonstrate safety in an extreme manner, for viewers.
I think you do a great job for sure. Well, let's jump into handguns. Find that perfect handgun, whether it's for carry or for target shooting. You cover a lot of handguns, and you brought one with you today. We can show that off if you want to, and talk about handguns a little bit.
That's the way I got introduced to Hickok45, is my dad was researching, what he and I could carry, and so we were looking at 9mm and 380s, and he showed me, gosh, I don't know how many of your videos he showed me back in the day when we were
starting to watch. I run into a lot of course, viewers out and around, and they have their kids with them. It's funny. I say, you don't make him watch or her watch, do you, your wife or whatever. But I just brought this. This is my one of my favorite guns, and people who watch your videos know we've checked it once. We'll check it again.
Yes,
it's
sir.
very clear. But it's a 45 Colt, and this is my Davy Colt, one of my Davy Colts. I just brought that along as a prop. And I guess this would be an example of picking out a gun that you just enjoy shooting.
Yeah.
You're probably not going just like as a concealed.
It's a lot to carry, yeah.
You could, but there's so many guns out there that are just great that it's tough to nail it down. I always recommend people get to a good range, rental range. You know, there's so many indoor ranges, they specialize in that.
That's right,
now.
yeah.
And it costs a little money, but rent those firearms. Narrow down as much as possible maybe before that. You know, this is my price range.
Sure.
My buddy's got a SIG P365 or a Glock 43X or whatever it is, and I sort of like the feel of it. Normally people are going to have a little bit of an idea maybe, or a J. Frame Smith, or whatever it might be, and try to rent that thing and shoot it, because that's just so valuable, as anybody who has shot knows.
Yeah.
And you might be really surprised by, wow, I thought I liked that. It felt good in my buddy's garage, but I don't like the recoil.
Right.
The trigger's horrible.
Yeah, the trigger's
a Glock.
Yeah, the trigger stood out for me when I was shooting, and find that right trigger pull and the feel.
Sights, the trigger, so important. You know, the other thing that really muddies the issue, I tell people sometimes, is even once you have gone through all that and been really smart about it and taking your time, and you get the one, maybe it is a Glock 43X, let's say, or a SIG P365, and you really, this is good. Yeah, I like it. And you shoot it at range, and okay. Then you shoot that for a period of 2 months. And then you shoot a buddy's gun, something you rejected earlier. As you gain in skill and comfort with that, with shooting in general, you're just a better shooter.
Right.
You know how to control the trigger better and the sights and everything. Your taste might actually change to some extent. Then your buddy's gun, you get to shooting on both, and you say, actually, I think I like that one better now.
Yeah.
I mean, that could happen, but that'd give you an excuse to buy another gun.
Yeah, I think that's kind of my excuse, after picking one out. I'm like, well, maybe I want a little bit smaller to carry.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
And you get to go down a size or check something else out.
Well, that's the big factor. What are you going to do with it? You want to ask you, what is this for? The range? If it's for the range, doesn't matter how big it is. And a bigger gun's easier to shoot well and more fun, usually. And if it's for concealed carry, then you be careful. You'll easily get something too big.
Depends on how you dress sometimes,
how you dress, what kind of holster, what's your plan for carrying it. And it's a jungle out there. It's not easy to get the right one. And you'll end up with 3 or 4 going around it.
And you pray you never have to use it.
Yep, that's for sure.
Well, you don't hunt much. You said, we talked earlier, you hunted when you were younger, but you don't hunt as much these days. But you still love to shoot long guns, and you still love to shoot the muzzleloader guns, things like that. What's your favorite long gun? I saw a video just recently, bolt action. You're like, which bolt action could I sell, or would I want to sell if I had to sell one?
Which is the last one I'd sell.
The last one you'd sell, yeah.
Yeah, I kept the Sacco. Is how you pronounce it, but everybody calls it Seiko, but I think it's Sacco, that Bavarian. Yeah, that's a tough choice. I love those all those bolt guns. As anybody sees that video, anybody watches the videos knows all those guns are favorites, actually.
Yeah.
But you really can't pick. As I say, it's like picking your favorite child. I love my Civil War 1861 Springfield rifle muzzleloader as much as anything. I like my Swedish Mauser. I like my lever guns. I mean, I don't want to give any of them up. I like them all a lot. And same with handguns. They're just all great and they're all fun. So, and I hunted a little bit in the early 70s. I got into shooting steel animals. And I don't know, kind of satisfied that, scratched that itch. Ever since, I've been knocking around steel.
Steel animals are a little bit easier to find.
I let someone else go. I tell you, whenever I come up, I used to have students occasionally, not very often. I was in pretty conservative teaching situations. If some little girl or boy, whatever, was giving someone else a hard time about hunting, I would just, I didn't intrude on the conversation, but if I overheard it, I said, yeah, that's right. Hunting that's not something I'd want to do. I'm not sure I go along with that. I like to go to the grocery. I like to pay somebody else to kill my game and go to the grocery and pick it up nice and wrapped and ready to cook. Just make the poor student, not make them feel bad, but I mean, people don't think about that. They just don't think about that.
It definitely. Free range is a lot better for you and tastes much better in a lot of cases. But, they don't understand what goes on behind the scenes in those package stores and things,
That's true. That's true.
Well, tips on cleaning and storage. I'm sure you have to do that a lot with what you're doing. So any tips on that? Or suggestions for folks after you go shooting?
Yeah, as I've mentioned over the years, a couple of things I do. I just have always made sure I keep my firearms wiped down because I have several firearms. And whenever I take one out of the safe for any reason, to put it back, I keep a rag soaked in my favorite gun oil, which it could be any gun oil, but I just keep it damp. It's hanging really on the knob. It's right there. It's one on every safe. And I just wipe it down quickly. It doesn't take much long at all. Put it back in the sock or whatever, and set it. I keep them in socks, almost all of them, in gun socks.
Yeah.
And tuck them in there. And I don't think I've ever had rust in 50 years on a firearm by doing that. And I don't shy away from touching. I don't even worry, or if I hand one to somebody to look at, you touch the steel all you want to. It's not an issue. I'm going to wipe it down before I set it back in there.
Sure.
And so that's a biggie right there. And then and I like the gun socks. I've heard people say they've had them in a sock for a long time and pull it out and it was rusting or something. And I've never experienced that, but I'll take their word for it. They did. They may have had dampness in there or something.
Right.
I don't know. So that I do in terms of storage. And of course, a gun safe is important to keep them locked, to where, unauthorized hands can't get to them.
Sure.
Now, for your carry gun and all that, I understand people, that's a different matter maybe, but you want to secure them and know where they are and whether they're loaded, where, no one can get to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think about black powder too. It's probably, that's the gun you want to get cleaned down the first and wipe down first, run a swab through it or something,
Yeah, very well.
Before putting that away. And that affects the shot too. After you shoot those over and over again, you have to play that range.
You keep them clean though, and it's amazing. The original Civil War rifles I've purchased, bores are in pretty good shape.
Yeah, that's cool.
Been taken care of.
Well, it's been fun. We ran out of time, Don.
That's amazing. I can't believe it. It's flown by.
Time flies when you're having fun.
It does.
So, it's been fun. I think we covered most of my notes here. But go check out Hickok45's channel on YouTube. He's got some great stuff out there. If you're shopping for a handgun, shopping for a long gun, just want to get into fun action shooting or backyard target practice, check out his stuff.
Good stuff. Very good stuff.
So, any final words?
Well, just good to be here, and thanks for the work you all do.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. This is Tennessee WildCast. Thank you for watching. Thanks for listening. Remember, tnwildlife.org. It's our website. Go get you a hunting license. Check out our e-store and get up to date on everything Tennessee Wildlife right there. And we appreciate everybody tuning in. Thank you guys for being with us.
You bet.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee WildCast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.